This is a soul to soul conversation. It's back and forth. And it's really, the exploration is like, I believe that life shapes us for things. And so I want to explore that. I want to explore what do we feel has shaped you. And it's focus on this quote. So it breaks it down to three sections. One is, the quote is, the purpose of life is to find your gift. And the work of life is to develop it. And the meaning of life is to give it away.
It's a good quote.
So good quote. Love it. So, but that's our riff. Our riff is like, the fuck happened to you, Andrew, that made you who you are? That's what it is. Hi, I'm Topaz Adizes. And I'm the founder of the Emmy Award-winning series, The And. The And has been an incredible journey for the past 12 years. We've brought in over 1,250 pairs to have incredible conversations. Through this work, I've had the privilege of witnessing the bold and the beautiful and the heart-wrenching, the conversations that reveal us. And what I've learned through these incredible experiences is that life shapes us. Now I'm ready to share these learnings and reflections here with you to dive deeper. We're going to be speaking to people I find incredible. I'm going to be asking them questions that reveal their life's journey. On today's episode, we bring you Andrew Kimler, a Sundance fellow and award-winning creative producer. Andrew develops stories that blend cultural insight with emotional honesty. His work spans TV, film, and digital projects for Sony, Netflix, MTV, Funny or Die, and brands like Intuit, with work seen on Comedy Central, Fox, Now This, Fast Company, and more. Andrew and his wife, Keisha, have been part of my world for over a decade now. They've been regulars on The And. They feel in many ways like extended family. So this conversation was a chance for me to go deeper into the inner life of the man I've witnessed walking his path for the past 12 years. So if we went back to 2005 and I popped in like, Andrew, you're going to be married to a Black talented comedian and you have 2 Black adopted children. How would you respond to that?
I'd probably be confused.
Would you be like, oh yeah, this is one of those did you see this coming? Or was this
no, I didn't see this. I didn't see this coming. It's the thing Keisha and I joke about a lot. Like when we got together, we were both coming out of long-term relationships. We were both, she'd been with someone for 5 years, literally getting divorced. I'd been with someone in nearly 5 years, literally on that precipice of do we get married or not? And we were both pretty freshly singled, and we'd been friends for years. We were doing comedy together. We were doing improv sketch, all this stuff for years. And so we knew each other. We had hung out a bunch. And there was never any airs of anything. There was never anything like that. And so, I had broken up with my girlfriend. I came to LA for 6 months to kind of find myself or whatever. And I came back to New York to do, I was doing a play. We were doing an international Shakespeare play. So I had to come back to New York to mount it before we took it overseas. And in that month I was home, we were hanging out and it was oh, hi. Something, the vibe was super different for the first time. And so we very quickly, we started seeing each other before I went off on the trip. My plan was I was going to go do the trip for a month. We were out in Italy doing the show all over Italy. I was going to come back, get my shit together for the rest of the year. And then top of the next year, top of 2012, I was going to come back to LA permanently. We started seeing each other. I think we both had that attitude of let's see what this is. And, here we are 15 years later. We have 2 kids, we're married, and we both live in LA now. So I don't know. Neither of us really saw this coming whatsoever. If you had come to me in 2005 and said I was going to be, I think if you told me I was married to a Black woman, my first instinct would have been, my first instinct would have probably been, a Black woman wants to be with me.
Yeah, exactly. You're what?
It's cool. Not even I don't have any, I've dated outside my race a bunch. That's never been a thing, but I think I always had that opinion of why would a Black woman be interested in me? The adopted kids thing though, I think I probably would be excited about. That's a thing I think a lot of people, I've spoken to so many people. It's a topic of conversation. It comes up a lot when you have adopted kids. A lot of people always say things like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. Or it's a thing I've always been interested in. And genuinely, I was one of those people. I was oh, I've always been very interested in doing that. I think hearing that I got the chance to do that would probably make me very happy.
But having a chance to be a parent or having a chance to adopting children?
Both. I mean, I've always wanted kids. I think I've wanted kids. I'm a weird person. I think I knew at like 8 that I wanted to be a dad.
Yeah. Wow.
I used to daydream about like how cool it would be to be a dad. Like I've always wanted to have kids. There was like a brief period in my 20s where I was like, do I want to have kids? And it's because I was in my 20s. I was, getting drunk and high and messing around. But that quick, that subsides once your brain like matures at 25. I was like, oh, no, this is what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, I've always wanted to do this. I feel like I'm finally doing the thing that I've been wanting to do for most of my life.
What's your earliest memory?
My first memory is probably listening to my brother in my mom's womb, putting my ear up to my mom's womb and listening to my brother.
Wait. You were in the womb or he was in the womb?
No, I was listening. He was in the womb. It'd be crazy if I remembered being in the womb.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was like, wow.
No, I remember I was probably like 2 and change, maybe 3. I remember listening and my mom was like, yeah, your brother's in there. And it just, I remember that. And I remember him coming home and all that stuff.
Wow. And you were 2.
I have video from before that. So it's that muddled thing of like, am I remembering that or am I remembering watching the video of that? But that's the one thing where I'm like, no, I know that was me, not a video.
Because you have like the memory from behind your eyes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
and I remember it's the sound. I remember the swishy sound of hearing him swishing around. I was like, oh, you can't capture that in a video. That's how I know it was me.
Wow. What do you remember knowing what you felt? Do you remember how you felt in that moment? Probably
confusion. I don't remember the feelings, but it's just like, kids don't really understand what that means. You're getting a brother, they don't, until the kid comes, you're like, oh no, I have to share my stuff. Okay. So my daughter, on the other hand, was like fully knew what she was like, I want a sister. I want my sibling. Like she told us she wanted, and we're like, we're working on it. So she was
very clear about that.
Yeah. Yeah. She was much more on the ball than I was.
My son knew that my wife was pregnant before any of us knew. We went into the bedroom and he was like pointing at mommy's belly and he's like, bebe. And we're like, well, he's like a year and 8 months or something, year and a half, maybe not even 2 years old, a little less than 2 years. And he's like, and we're like, what? Does he want a sibling? And he's like, bebe. And then a week later, boom, she realizes she was pregnant. Yeah. They both say that they came from Saturn. And I don't know if they're serious or they're joking, but they're like, yeah, we came from Saturn. And like the son says, yeah, I came first. We decided I'll go first. I guess she came second once he scouted it out, saw if we were cool or not.
That's like crazy.
Yeah. So that's like,
absolutely crazy.
I think they know things because I think they're picking up on a lot more information than we as adults are, like,
yeah.
Or I can imagine a baby who they can't quite see things clearly because their eyes, but they're probably feeling energies or engaging with the world.
Processing everything. They did a study, this is on adults at least, but they did a study about like brainwave function and everything on people when they're like sober and conscious and when they're on, what's it called? When they're on
psychedelics?
Hallucinogens. And what they found was people's brain activity when they're on hallucinogens is not bigger. It's like, it's actually more focused. It's actually, and so it's that question of like, when you're younger and you don't have like all of like life and like kind of piling on you, like how attuned are you to things versus like, is everything just kind of,
and then through noise. The attunement, everything else opens up. Like, you see it on such a deeper level and boom.
Yeah. It's great. We joke that my eldest daughter predicted our youngest daughter. So tell me. So the year, was it 2024 when we had my youngest was one of the worst years of my life. It was literally it's probably one of the top 2 or 3 worst years of my life. We had 3 failed adoptions. I lost my mother-in-law. It was bam, bam, bam. It was just like one hit after another, like multiple failed adoptions, each one worse than the last. Like the last,
How can one adoption be worse than another? Failed adoption be worse than another? Like,
we've had a few where, one where before the baby comes, the birth mother just changes their mind. They decide they're going to parent themselves, and it's a hard one where you're like, all right, well, go. We have to support that. Like that's the best decision for you. Like, of course, I support that.
Yeah.
And then like things kind of get into gray areas a little bit. The last one got to the point where we literally we were in the room when he was born, and like we held him. It was like a whole thing. And then the next day, I don't want to get too in weeds of that woman's. We had a really rough year, and that had happened like 3 weeks before my youngest was born. So like we were pretty devastated. We'd had a really rough go of it, and we were literally at a point where we were like, well, should we just like take a year off from this? This has been like kind of grueling. And we were thinking not stopping, but just like taking a break. And then Keisha had her tarot cards read, and they said, oh, no, baby's coming pretty soon. And we're like, okay, we've been hearing that for a while. And then we were bathing my daughter, and she's like, I want, she was basically.
Wait. So this is the second child. Isn't like the worst year? 2024 is the second child. Okay,
because we're bouncing around. We went to multiple cities to try to have these adoptions go through. Like we dragged my eldest all over the country.
Wow,
we've been to Mississippi.
So she was New Orleans. She'd be with you.
Oh yeah.
So in some sense, she also had a experience of I'm getting a baby brother or baby sister, and then it got pulled back from her too.
Multiple times. Hey, we're gonna go. Prepping her. We're gonna have a sibling. He literally met one. Was like, this is your sibling, and she, and so all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, no, it's. She handled it really well. That could have been really hard. My eldest is very mature, but we're a couple, like literally like 2 weeks after our last failed one. We're bathing her in the tub, and she's just like, I want my sister. I want my little, she's really big in Bluey. And so she really, was contextualizing it in like Bluey and Bingo terms. Mm-hmm. Bluey's the older sister and Big. She's like, I want my Bingo. Where's my Bingo? Mm-hmm. And we're like trying not to cry. And we're like, yeah, I know we're trying. And then she looks us dead in the eye, and she goes, in this voice, she goes, it's coming. And we're like, what does that mean? We're like, that's so creepy. She goes, it's coming. And then 3 days later, we got the call that my youngest was born, and we had to go get her. Wow. And we're like, oh, did she predict? Yeah. And she came early. Our youngest came 2 weeks early. We didn't even know we had been matched with her. We just got the call Halloween morning saying like, hey, not only were you matched, but the baby came last night. You have to get out here and get her. And so everything about
it's just like that. So it's literally like that. It's like you get a call and you go.
Yep. That's, I mean,
so otherwise you're literally waiting for a call, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like one way that that adoption works, but yeah, for us, I'd say like if you're going for like a newborn adoption, it's 50% of the time you'll get a call, maybe a little lead time that it's okay, you've been matched, baby's coming on this date, and then the other half of the time it's like, hey, baby's already here, you've got to get to the city, you've got like 24 hours to get to the city if you want this baby, and so yeah, we had both experiences. And so we got to meet my youngest. She was like 18 hours old. We got to meet her. And it's like, we're sad we didn't get to like meet her sooner or be in the room or anything, but like we got to meet her on her birthday. And that's the thing that mattered the most.
And your second daughter?
Oh, no, that's my second. My first, we were in the room for. We saw the whole thing. We were the first people to hold her. That was like, from my understanding is that doesn't happen very often, that adoptive parents get to be in the room for that. So we consider ourselves very lucky that we had that experience, that we were in the room, and the three of us named her together. It was a really cool experience to be able to be there.
So not many people. I mean, this is so interesting because we don't talk about many things. Like when my wife had a miscarriage, you realize a lot of people have a miscarriage.
Mhm.
You don't realize it until you talk about it.
A lot of people don't want to talk, and it's
They don't talk
super
about it.
common, and it's like this weird thing that I don't know where that comes from, if it's society or shame or what, but like, yeah, people don't want to talk about it.
But it's like, I want to talk about adoption because I haven't talked about it much because I haven't had the opportunity. So I want to apologize for any ignorance up front, and please correct me if I'm doing something incorrect, but or rude or hurtful. But like, when you're trying to have a baby, I have many friends who tried IVF for years and spent God knows how much money, a lot of money, and many years, and every month getting a shot, and every month, trying, and that's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Just up and down. Like you said, you had in the second child, you had 3, different failed moments where it didn't work out. That must be a roller coaster. How would you describe that roller coaster? How would you describe that experience and how it shaped you and how it changed you, if it changed you at all?
The common knowledge, from everything that we've been absorbing from the adoption community that we're plugged into is like, don't hide it. Like, our kids know that, they know their story and everything like that. And the last thing you want to do is hide it from them, because then there's like shame associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's why we make kind of a conscious effort of like, no, we want to talk about it. And we want our kids to understand, like, there's no one way to make a family. This is how our family can be. We had a failed adoption before our eldest was born, as well. That wouldn't, listen, they're all hard for different reasons. And one of the things we were told when that one happened that I think helped us through all of them is you have to, you kind of have to mourn it like a miscarriage. And I thought that was really, listen, as much as it sucks, it was helpful to hear, because it's like, okay, because it's like, yeah, you did. Listen, a child is okay. They're living, they're alive, but they're not part of your family. There's a loss, right?
Yeah.
And so, you do have to mourn that loss. And so, it's a lot of mourning. And so I think with the 3 that we went through in 2024, it was a lot of mourning. It was that, and plus we lost my mother-in-law as well. So it was just just a emotionally tumultuous year, and it was a lot of the hardest part, I think, was telling. That was last year. Yeah. I think the hardest part is trying to have tell our families every time, to the point where by the time we got to but towards the end of the year, we were like, we're not going to tell anyone until we have a baby in our arms and things are signed and done, because we just couldn't put it was hard enough for us, but to put our families through that was just it felt impossible. And so by the time we got my youngest, and we literally took her home from the hospital before we called our parents, and we're just like, hey, guess what? And my parents were a little bit like, so what are the odds that this, can take? And we're like, no, we signed the paperwork. Like, this is done. Like, she is, it cannot be undone. This is for real. Because I think they were once bitten, twice shy as well. It was hard. It was honestly, it's the reason why I consider it to be one of the worst years of my life is, there's one of the hardest things we had to go through is just walking away, from situations, not from our own, not by choice.
So what did last year teach you then?
It taught me a level of patience I didn't know I needed. You're planning for a baby, and I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. If anyone who's been planning for a baby that did not come, you kind of have to learn that, it's almost like you can't let yourself get, it's almost like you can't let yourself get too excited. It's more of, it's that thing of how much of your day-to-day is led by emotion and logic, right? I feel like for me, it was I had almost turned off the emotional part of my brain a little bit and let logic dictate things until it felt appropriate to let the emotions come through. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's the healthiest way to deal with it, but that's how I had to deal with it.
Was that what you did after the second, third time to protect yourself emotionally? Because the first time you were excited and then that didn't work out. So you felt hurt.
Yeah, they all hurt. I would say by the time we had the third one last year, I had started to get a little numb, which I knew wasn't healthy for me.
Right.
which is why I think I was the one that first went to Keisha and I was like, maybe we take a break for a little bit. This is getting a little raw. Yeah.
I mean,
that was the
go ahead.
hardest part. Yeah, no, go on. I'm desperate.
I mean, to me, that sounds like emblematic of life, where it's a constant pull and push and pull between protecting yourself so you don't feel the emotion, but then you become numb. So then how do you become vulnerable so that you feel the emotion, so that you feel alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a constant. I mean, I'll be honest. This is not a great example, nowhere equal, but like I noticed on a party on Sunday at his house that I almost much prefer to be doing the barbecue, talking to one person versus having to go and engage with many people. Mm-hmm. And these are all my friends, and I'm like, what is that about? Why? I was like, oh, but there's work to open up and engage. And sometimes, it's fun, but sometimes it's also tiring and you're opening up to different energies. And it's not a great example, but it's the most recent one where I felt that.
I think it's a great example.
Why?
We use that metaphor. We teach like a writing class, and we literally use that metaphor of like, if you're writing an episode of or a movie or whatever, if you're meeting like 15 people, like you're probably not getting into too deep with any of those characters, right? It's like a party, right? Do you have a better sense of who everyone is if you're meeting like 20 people and having a brief convo, or you have like a really deep convo with a few people? So I think I 100% get where you're coming from. No, you get past that surface level of like, hey, how you doing? What's your day? What's new? Into like, no, what's really going on with you? How are you really processing?
But you don't want to close down in life to being open to having deeper conversations with many people. It just takes work and conscientiousness to put yourself and open yourself up. And it just seems like you had an intense year where that was done. Offered and closed 3 times. And it's just kind of like when you're dating, when you're a teenager and you're, oh, that hurt. I'm not going to do that again. Oop, that hurt. I'm not going to take the risk. Oop, that hurt. It seems like it's
I'd say the flip side of it is, I think, Keisha and I, we joke like we'd been through COVID together in like a studio apartment. We went through all of this. We're like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it brought us closer. It did bring us a lot closer together. And we're like, all right, we joke. We're like, well, if we can handle all that, I think we can handle probably just about anything.
Yeah, you could say that but that doesn't mean it's an invitation to handle it. Just about everything.
No.
We can, but we don't need to be tested.
We can.
I'm like,
we can. Cool. We've been tested enough. We're good.
Right, you're good.
When you and your wife, I feel,
go for it.
Did you guys find yourselves getting closer together when you when you went through your loss?
Oh yeah, for sure. She was pregnant. We were in New Zealand. We were driving around, and I was looking for a home for us. And it was considered New Zealand, just way too far for her, and wasn't aligned. And she had a miscarriage, and we decided to go bury the information, the information of by Lake Wanaka. Next to Lake Wanaka in the Southern Island, there's another lake, Lake Hawea, under this beautiful hill, which ironically I'd been meditating for 2 years prior. I had found this spot and just meditated. So I went back there and we went walking amongst this beach. Was Pebble Rock Beach, like rocks. It wasn't sand, it was rocks. And long story short, I found this rock, just caught my attention, and I grabbed it, and it was almost laser cut. It was in half. And when I grabbed it, it like literally split in half in my hand. It was already split, but it was together. When I grabbed it, I realized, oh my God, this is perfectly split in half. So this is the perfect container for this information. It's my wife and I. And then we found a spot amongst some flowers, and we buried it and put it in between this rock that's like cut by a laser almost, put in between. And we sat there and we cried. And will never forget, like, what I saw through my eyes in that moment of my wife sitting on her knees on those pebbles crying, and me crying. And I knew then, I was like, yeah, this solidified. This is like, yep. Because there will be many moments like this. Right now we're crying about a miscarriage, something, a loss. There will be many more losses that we'll cry together on.
Yeah.
My father, her, there will be many more ahead. And these are eyes that I can cry with. This is a person I can sit in the pain with and like, yes, we chose to see the miscarriage as preparation, like preparing the space and preparing and to the thing about, telling your children that they're adopted and having no shame. Like my daughter's quite 3. We haven't broached that conversation, but my son knows there was a prior soul around or a prior baby that we lost in the belly, so that it doesn't, he knows, and we talk about it, and it's
part of your story. It's part of your family story.
Yeah, it's part of the constellation. It's part of the family constellation. There's this other entity that showed up. That's how we choose to interpret it. And I had a sibling who had a miscarriage after, and I remember my first reaction was like, "It's good. No, it's good." And I don't think that was well read. I think they were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But so that kind of didn't work out well. But my thought was, my reaction is like, "Hey, this doesn't have to be seen as bad. This is seen as a natural process, and it's preparation. You can choose to see it in that way, and indeed it was. And they later had another, healthy baby, and." What are the narratives we choose to give to things? And
it's I try to look at it's kind of like a life philosophy. It's like anytime I have to go through like a bad thing or whatever, or a hard thing, or however you want to frame it, I always try to think like, well, what's the lesson in it? Like, what can I get from this so that it's not a waste? Because otherwise it's just pain. It's pain on its own, and that sucks. And I was like, well, I have to get something from it to grow, or else it's just a wasted experience.
Absolutely. So last year you've had a lot of lessons. You've had a
lot of those. Yeah. But listen, I was wrong. I got to the end, at the end of the road, I was like, maybe we take a break. And my wife's like, Keisha was just very much like, let's hold on a little bit more. I think we were kind of at the point of, let's give it the rest of the year, was probably hanging in the air. But, she was really adamant of like, no, let's hold on. I feel like something, and she's right. Like literally, 3 weeks later, we got the call and we joke like our daughter like raced to be here. I think Keisha likes to joke that like she knew that we were getting raw. And so she's like, I'm just going to come early so I don't miss the boat.
And I'm sure now, I assume, now that when you're all together, the 4 of you, you're like, this could not have been any other way.
We talked about this a lot before my youngest was born, of like the family feels like it's missing someone, like it feels like there's someone here who isn't here. And now that she's here, we're like, okay, it feels like the party's together. And now we're like, is the party all here?
Yeah, I know. That's how, see, I'm thinking about the same thing. And part of me is like, is it another baby or is it a dog? Like, is it a dog character? Like, because my wife is adamant. She's like, no more. And she gives a lot of herself to being a mom. And she's like, no, like this age and this, like, we're good.
But you still have love to give. And you're like, well, there's a lot of ways to give that love.
There's it's almost like, I mean, I kind of say like kids are like tattoos. You get them and you just want another one and another one. And you're like, what's this one?
I say the same thing. They're addicting. Yeah, they're very addicting.
I kind of wish I started earlier, but it took me till I was 42 to meet my wife, and I'm super glad that I'm doing it with her. I'm super glad and I'd rather, if you were like, do you want 4 kids with someone else, or you want 2 kids with what you have now? It's like, no. Let's start with my partner, because that's the most important thing. Let's go to Andrew Kimler, like 8 years old.
Sure.
Where was Andrew Kimler at 8?
I was in New York. I was in Long Island, sharing a bedroom with my brother. I was the tiny kid. I was the scrawny kid growing up.
So how would you describe to that kid what you do now and who you are now?
Oh, boy. What I do now. This is so weird. I remember being 8 and like thinking like being a comedian's the best job in the world. And wow. Not far off, but like, I was like, no, you get to write funny things. You get to do funny things on your own terms, but it's probably not the way you think. Yeah, I would just, I would probably tell them, I was like, you're gonna do the things you want, but not the way that you think, not the way that you think that you're gonna do them.
And what are the lessons that 8-year-old is going to learn along the way? What are the 3 big lessons you've learned that got you where you are now? Take your time.
Patience. I'd say patience.
But like, what does patience mean? Like, what does patience actually mean? Like, what does that mean?
I think patience means, to me, it means it's not even just like about waiting. It's about like, what do you do while you're waiting? How do you prepare while you're waiting to do the things you want to do? Yeah. What are you doing? How are you educating? I think the power of education, is a thing that I didn't fully, I was a terrible student at like 8 years old. I didn't like figure out how to be like a good student until like senior year of high school and then college. Did I figure out like, oh, this is how I learn. So I think it's a thing of like what you do while you're waiting matters as much as anything else. Luck favors the prepared, right?
Yeah, that's actually beautiful. So what you do while you're waiting is what matters most. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. It's God, I'm going to dip into cliches just for the sake of time. But yeah, it's that thing of, it's not the destination, it's the road. It's all the same thing, right? Like how you spend your time matters more than waiting to get the thing. Like I waited, pretty longer than I thought I was going to have to wait to have kids. Even from when I was 8 to when Keisha and I were ready to have kids, like just took us a while. But it's not like we sat on our hands the whole time, right? The time we spent waiting was time we spent like, we read a ton of books. Part of adoption is like, you have to take like a lot of classes to get qualified to adopt. So like, there was a lot of just educating and training and getting ready. But all of that stuff has made it so like once we got our kids, I feel so prepared. Like, they say like you'll never feel fully prepared to have a kid. We did. we felt as prepared as you could possibly be when we finally got our first daughter. We were like, oh, okay. We know as much as you probably could know as a first-time parent. And so I take it as a compliment. Like we dealt with our eldest. A lot of people, multiple people would tell us like, you guys don't feel like first-time parents. And we took that as like a really big point of pride. It's like, yeah, because we spent our waiting time effectively. We were like, we didn't just like wait around for things to happen so that we can, feel around in the dark like a lot of first-time parents. And that's not the poo-poo on first-time parents, but like we're planners. Yeah. So that's that.
Did you learn that lesson? You learn about patience. It's what you do while you're waiting from this experience of waiting to adopt to become a parent.
I think that's from a few ways. That's one of the big ways. Okay. I think way? Also I thought I was gonna do very different things with my life, as we all do. And in waiting for like, I thought I was gonna be a pilot at one point. And that didn't pan out because I had vertigo. Hey. And then I thought I was like, I was going to join the military and be a pilot and do all like that was my high school plan. And like, that didn't pan out. And so I fell into the arts, which thank goodness I did. I would have gone to Iraq had I enlisted in 2001. Again, not to poo-poo anyone who went to Iraq, but like, I came, I had friends who didn't come back. I wanted to be, I want to be an artist. I thought I was going to primarily be an actor. That's what I thought I was going to be. And along the way, in like waiting for like things to kind of like pick up steam, I found writing, and I couldn't imagine my life if I wasn't writing things. Like if someone came to me and said, hey, you can now just go be an actor. You don't ever have to write again. I probably wouldn't do that. I have more to offer than just, performing is fun. I like it. It is not my thing. It is not my only thing. It can't be my only thing. Like I could probably walk away from it if I was just creating art.
But you couldn't walk away from writing.
I don't think I could walk away from writing now.
But
I get why like so many writers become like directors, so many actors become like writers and directors. It's like, yeah, it's like there's a limit to what you can do. And for some people, it's listen, if that's enough for you, that's great. But like, I understand why some people are like, no, I have something more creative. I think I need to get out other than just expressing emotions.
But when you say writing, are you saying writing for theater? Because writing for theater, you're in a different position than if you're writing for a film, for instance.
Yeah.
Right? Than if you're writing a book. So when you say
Mhm.
writing, what do you, or your TV show, like which like, or any form of writing, or is there a certain one that I like this?
I started by writing like with TV, and that's, I went through like the Sundance writers program. I'm a
Mhm.
Sundance fellow from all that, and then started writing some features, and then now I'm writing. Keisha and I are writing a book. But I've written articles, like anything. I think
So
it's
any kind
for
of
me,
writing.
it's expressing. Yeah, it's expressing ideas. I love expressing fun ideas, and I love telling stories. And it's the thing I didn't know. I would never have known if I had just started acting all the time at like 18 and never had that waiting period. I wouldn't have found, like, no, I like to tell stories. That is a thing that I don't think I could live my life without doing.
But you discovered that passion after 18.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how old were you? You like 25? You discovered it then?
I discovered, probably around like late 20s, early 30s. I started, like, I had written, I'd say in my 20s, I was writing a lot of like comedy. I was writing a lot of sketch, stand up and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. And it wasn't, so I guess 20s. And I would say it was like late 20s, early 30s when I started getting to more narrative. And I was like, oh, I think I like this more. Like, I love sketch.
Do you remember the moment?
But
Do you remember the moment where you're like, oh, which is interesting, because see that someone finds their thing early 30s, late 20s. That's, I mean, some people don't find their thing ever.
Yeah.
If you found your thing then, I mean, other people find their things in their teens. Like, would you remember the moment when it kind of clicked for you, where you're like, oh, wait,
So Keisha was in a writers group with a couple other friends of ours, and then they invited me in to work on some stuff, and we started writing. And I got a lot of writing done. There was like a good 2-3 year period where we would meet like every week, and we just wrote and a ton of pitches, and we got to pitch a lot of shows, and we craft a lot of TV shows and features and stuff, and we wrote so much. And I think early on in that process, we started creating things. It was the first time I had ever written in a group. Before that, all of my writing, I was doing a lot of sketch writing, and it's a lot of solo writing. It's a lot of like sitting in my apartment alone at midnight, just crafting a funny idea and then getting to perform it. Love that. Like that's such a special time in my life. But that's a thing where like you sit there and you write it, and then you bring it to a rehearsal, and you don't really see how it's going to work until it's in front of an audience, right? We got together in a group. Like, I'm not just pitching jokes and pitching story ideas that are getting really positive responses, where it's like, there might be something more here to me than just like pitching jokes. I might actually have more to contribute. And so that's when I was like, oh, I think I might want to do more of this. And in following that thread, I was like, oh, I want to write more stuff, and started writing stuff on my own. And Keisha and I will write stuff together as well. And I kind of found a passion that I didn't know was there.
When you say, oh, there's something here more, you mean beyond just writing jokes? Were you starting to see narrative arcs? Were you starting to see character worlds? And you like being in the character worlds? Like, what was happening there? And then do you apply that? Do you apply that to your own world? Do you start saying, "Oh, they're behaving this way because they must have a dad who did that," and then you like create the whole?
Yeah, initially I just wanted to make jokes. I wanted to pitch jokes, right? Like I came from like a sketch background and a little bit of a stand-up background, primarily a sketch background. And so I wanted to be in the room, like pitching the funny line that the character would say or do or whatever. And the more we would do that, the more it's like, well, what if the character did this, or why is the character, and getting into the differences really between like story and plot, like why characters behave the way they do. And now I'm so in that world that I completely forget about the comedy sometimes. I'm like, oh, I have to do a comedy pass on the script, because I got so in the weeds about story. I was like, oh, the thing that got me into this in the beginning was like, I just wanted to write funny things. It's like, oh, I have to go back and I have to remind myself to go do the thing that got me into it in the first place. And so that's a pretty big swing for me.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love creating worlds, or one of my favorite things in the world is Keisha and I, we'll be working out, or we'll be on a walk, or just hanging out at night, and we'll be like, this weird idea, this concept, and I don't really know. And then we just start talking about it, and then we don't stop talking about it. And then we're talking about it for weeks, and we're like, all right, well, what does this look like as a show or a book or this or that? And we're like, oh, well, let's craft it, and then like months later, we're like pitching it to like major studios and networks, and it's like, this is an idea that we just had over dinner.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But that's where they start.
It's really crazy.
That's where they start. That's where the ideas start. That's why when everyone saying like, at least for me, like, when are you working? I'm like, I'm working all the time. And matter of fact, some of my best work comes when I'm watering the garden or washing the dishes or taking a shower or taking a walk on the beach. And like, for me to have that switch of the mind of saying like, a walk on the beach does not mean you're lazy. And it doesn't just mean you're getting exercise. Like, actually, you could be getting exercise and doing some really quality work, because your job is to really come up with good ideas. And sometimes good ideas come in different ways.
It's all thought work, right? Like writing, thought work is writing. We tell our students all the time, we're like, not all writing happens in front of the computer screen. It's not about staring at a computer screen.
Which like is even more true now in the world of AI. Because
AI is like drawing from experiences, right? And pulling from other people's work to create new work, right? But that work is now in the pile, and it's drawing from other AI to create so eventually it's like an Ouroboros, right? It's going to be a snake eating its own tail. It's like, what is the thing that's behind it? What's the inspiration behind it? When Keisha and I write, when we teach, we talk a lot about like we call it, I don't know if this is the thing we came up with it or it's a thing we stole from someone else. We call it the about. Like, this is what the story's about, but this is what it's really about.
Sure.
Like Fight Club's about a bunch of guys who like to fight in the basement, but it's really about toxic masculinity. Like, that's the about. And so it's like, if you don't have that about, things are gonna feel hollow because you don't know why you're writing it. You don't know why you're creating that art. You don't know why you're making that. Drawing that picture.
So let's riff on this a bit. Two things come up for me. One is the about I think there could be many lenses to the about. So when I look at a film, the about I always look through is the political reflection. Like, how did this movie get made? Why did this movie get made? From political, from metaphysical, from a spiritual, from who know, right? And then sometimes I don't think the creators actually know what the about is about.
Yeah.
I can give an example.
I think they might be aware that there is an about, even if they can't place what it is.
So let me give
I think you're right.
I'm going to give you the greatest about that I've experienced from my point of view. And I'm looking at everything, right? Inglourious Bastards. Okay? Tarantino, who's a master of his craft, no doubt. You can't question that. Guy's seen everything on the sun. I'm in the theater up in Chelsea. No, right there by, between B&H and Madison Square Garden and the AMC theaters there on 34th and whatnot. I'm watching it, and it's like a big theater, and Inglourious Bastards is playing. It's packed house. And it's that scene in the end when all the Nazis are in the movie theater watching a movie. And the two like Jewish soldier guys from Brad Pitt's, unit open up and just start firing and killing everybody. Just carnage. And okay. And everyone in the audience is kind of laughing in the way that you laugh at like a Tarantino, where he he does this thing where someone's head gets shot off, but they're reacting and you're kind of laughing at the gruesomeness, right? Like in Pulp Fiction in the opening when the guy gets his head shot off and everyone's laughing about it, but they're not. It's like classic Tarantino. So here you're watching these two characters kill everybody in a movie theater. And all the people in the movie theater are Nazis. So in some sense, they deserve it, right? And yet in the movie itself, prior to them getting killed, they're watching a movie. Yeah. They're watching a film. Yeah. And the film they're watching is a film of some German soldier in a clock tower shooting people, snipers, and just killing people left and right. And the few times you see the film they're watching, there's like a shot of like just American soldiers falling one after the other comedically into like a pond, to like a little fountain. And then it cuts to like Hitler going to like Goebbels or someone going, this is genius. This is so good. And they're laughing. And to me, that movie is absolutely genius, because what he was doing there was like, okay, Nazis are evil. We assume Nazis are evil. And so what do Nazis do that are evil? They will watch a movie where people are dying left and right and laugh and say it's genius. And yet a moment later, we in real life are
Do the
watching the
same
movie,
thing.
are people dying left and right and laughing. So what does that say about us and our culture? And I'm in the theater seeing this happen in real time, looking around thinking, is anybody else, everyone's laughing here, but I'm like, holy shit, this is genius. But like, he's basically equating us to the same values of the, like he's asking how different are we? Because the movies they love where people die left and right, we're doing the same thing. So then I went home and I watched through all the interviews with him about the movie, and no one brought it up, and he doesn't address it. So it made me think it has a different about that he doesn't realize.
But that's art, right? That's everybody can pull something different from it and look at it from their point of view and get something from it.
Yeah.
I think the thing you got from that movie is so valid. I've never thought about it that way, but that's so valid. That's such an interesting commentary on American bloodlust, especially in the movies, juxtaposed with like literal Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're probably right. I bet that he didn't have that interpretation when he made it, but it's there.
It's there. It's like, and I think that's my about what I saw in the film. But like many people don't see that. I don't know anyone else who has, but it's interesting. Like, so when you guys say it's about, are you saying that the writer has to know the about for them?
I think it's helpful if an artist knows what the about is, but they don't always. I think they don't always know it. I'll go back to Fight Club just because we've talked about it, and it's like one of the most misunderstood movies. But the writer Chuck Palahniuk has spoken about this, and I'm gonna completely butcher any quotes he's had about it. But like, when he wrote that book, he had a very different view of what he was trying to write versus a couple years later. When he wrote the book, he was a closeted man. He hadn't fully come to terms with his sexuality, and so that story is about him wrestling with his sexuality, which is why the dual personalities. And so when he wrote it, I don't think he fully understood the about of what he was writing until later he was able to look at it and recontextualize what that story was actually about. So I think sometimes, listen, there might be a day Tarantino wakes up, in 10, 15 years and he goes, holy shit, Inglourious Bastards was actually about this. That's the beauty of art. It's like it's so much of it is subconscious. You don't know what you're writing about sometimes.
Look, I rarely smoke weed because I get super paranoid. Like Holocaust surviving Jewish lineage, like just shows up and I'm just looking for who's going to kill me. Literally like this paranoia. But when I used to make films, I would never watch my film high until it was done. So until it was color corrected, like picture lock, color corrected, sound design, everything was done. And then I would sit down, have a smoke, and watch the movie and have a fucking anxiety attack. Like a real anxiety. It's like I've only had one anxiety attack outside of watching my own films in my life, so I don't generally get anxiety attacks. But when I watch my own films high when they're done, because then I get to see like the about from a way I had no idea. And it's almost like holding up a mirror that really is like, holy shit, is this what I'm going through? And this is what I'm saying that I was not aware that till this moment. And this is reflecting a part of me that I have not looked at all until this moment.
Yeah. It's like you get a peek in your own psyche from an outside perspective.
When was the last time that happened to you?
I had a hard time writing this year, I think, because I had a new baby. So it was hard to find that, I didn't really start getting writing anything new until the last 4 or 5 months. But the first half of the year is like revisiting a lot of old stuff to stay creative. And in I'd say that's probably the most recent time it happened, was just looking at some old scripts and recontextualizing them and realizing, oh, I think this was about that. I wrote a story. I wrote a pilot a couple of years ago that was about it was about someone going through it. It's funny. It went through a lot of phases. It initially started as it's about this guy who's just kind of wants to let the world burn and sever his relationships with everyone. And that has slowly morphed into this new idea about a teenage girl who accidentally doxes her school and has to realize
what? She does what?
She doxes her whole school.
You mean says everyone's identity?
she reveals everybody's like they're like their permanent records, their journals, everything. Like she accidentally doxes her whole school in an effort to kind of like say fuck you. It has to deal with the ramifications of that, and it's a story about realizing the importance of connection and community. It took me recontextualizing that into the point of view of like a high schooler, to be like, oh, okay, I think this is probably what I was going through in high school. And this is measured against where my head is at now as an adult.
So the one you wrote about that was in high school? You wrote that? Like you went back?
No, I started writing that, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's morphed into so many different things.
Yeah.
And I wrote another one that was just about my anxieties about being a parent. Before I had kids, I wrote this like 5 years ago. A story about like, basically framed around like, I hope I don't screw up my kids. And now that I'm like in it, I've had like my Keisha and I've had a couple friends be like, you should probably revisit that script now that you're on the other side of things. And like, you probably have a different perspective on it. And I'm like, I do. And I know I should. I'm just not emotionally there yet. Like, so I've been, I guess, I hope that
let me ask you this. When you look, have you seen the film One Battle After Another?
I love that movie. Yeah.
So let's talk, because I think they're like, both we could talk about as artistic, but also like in your life. Like, I think there's a similar, like when he says, I don't know how to comb my daughter's hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it's he's in over his head, but he's, they did such a good job in the first act of establishing like, why do we like him? It's like, well, because he's showing up, he's trying. He's not good at it, but the fact that he wants to be there is like, that's why we root for him as a character. It's like, he wants to be a good dad. And that's the thing that it matters so much to him. He gave up the struggle of revolution because it mattered more to him to be a good dad. Great reason to root for a character. And it's like, he's fucking things up. He lights up in the middle of his parent teacher conference and stuff. And they're like, you can't do it. Like he is so blind to the world around him. But at the end of that scene was so cool because he's just like tearing up. He's like, well, she's doing so good at school. He's like, that's kind of the only thing that matters to him. Right. And there's that great, I'm just spiraling now. To me, that movie is all about that moment in the end when she has the gun pointed at him. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, but
she has the gun at him on the hills. And she's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm your dad. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's that. To me, that's what that movie is about. But
that must open you up because I'm sure subconsciously you're wondering that with your kids. They're asking you, when they say my mom, they're also saying, who are you?
Yeah. And my kid, my daughter this morning, she's been doing this thing and she did it this morning. She's like, she's 3. She can't like open her like little yogurt pouch. She's like, and my wife's, she's like, hey, do you want me to open? She goes, no, I want Daddy to open it. Yeah. And she runs over and she's like, Daddy, can you open my thing? I was like, yeah, I'll open it. She goes, Daddy, you're my best daddy. And I know what she means. It's like I'm her best friend. I'm her dad. It's I'm her dad and her best friend. And to me, I'm like, that is everything.
It's interesting.
Did you see Superman? The new Superman?
No, I have not. I mean, I barely watch movies, dude. I don't watch.
It's another adoption story, and they don't shy away from it. And I'm not spoiling anything, but like, fuck, man, I like teared up at the end of Superman. It's the story of like he's trying to like be this person for who he thought his biological parents wanted him to be. And it literally ends with him being like, no, I want to watch some videos of my parents. And it's his adopted family. It's like, this is, it's like, no, these are my parents.
But it feels like when I look at the stories of adopted families, the narrative I've created for myself of how I perceive reality or like how things happen, I see it like, everything is everything is a universe to choosing it. If you're religious, you say like God chooses it, right? But like the universe chooses it. But like what's really neat here is like my kids were like conceived and there's like a biological genetic connection. So there's like more of a logical.
You could draw that line.
It's like a formula.
Yeah.
And here's like, no, there's so many different, it's like a bigger lottery. It's a bigger lottery.
It's a lot of like, what is nature and nurture?
There's so many different vectors. Like with me and my wife, it's clear the vectors. Like there's like physics. There's two vectors coming down here, and then they meet, and then they have a baby. It's clear. Your two vectors, you meet with Andrew Keisha, and then there's other vectors that are required of two other people have a baby that cannot work, that cannot for some reason, and that meets your vector. So the probability of that happening is just
it's astronomical.
1 in a billion. It's astronomical. And so that relationship is almost meant to happen because it's against greater odds. And I'm sure it also faces different odds, different challenges but to me, that's just amazing. It's just amazing when I think like, wow, what an honor that that family, your family gets to be your family.
It does feel meant to be. And we laugh a lot about it. We talk about how our kids feel like they were always meant to be our kids, and they feel like we see so much of ourselves in them, and they're, you know, there's so many things where it's like, well, it's this nature and nurture. And there's so many things where, I mean, rarely a couple of days goes by where one of them does a thing and I'll look at Keisha and be like, that's you. She picked that up from you. Or she'll say, she got that from you. And like, so we see the influence.
Yeah.
In the adoption groups we're in, you know, they like to say like, you can't get matched with the wrong kid is kind of the thinking in the adoption community. And it's true. It's like your kid is your kid is your kid. And you will see things and you will see yourself in them regardless of how your family came to be. They will reflect the good and the bad at you. They will reflect everything at you. It's that plus, right? It's that plus there's these other vectors, right, that are coming into play where you're like, okay, that's probably not either of us.
Right.
But it's like, you know, that's part of the fun.
What do you feel life has designed you for?
Man, this sounds cheesy, but it's true. It's like I'm doing like raising my kids is the thing I think I've always been meant to do. Like this is why I'm here. And then all the other stuff, the arts stuff or, you know, anything else I'm doing is kind of secondary. Because if for whatever reason I couldn't do it anymore, I'd figure stuff out. Especially now, hey, the world's kind of crazy right now. It's not who among us is not having the conversation of what if I had picked up and I moved somewhere else and I did something else. That's the stuff I want to do, and I'm going to fight to do it. But if I didn't do it, I'd be fine. Raising my kids is the thing I have to do. Like I can't not. And you know, I'm sure you feel the same way with your kids. You're like, oh, this kind of supersedes anything else I'm doing. I don't assume, but it's...
But is that, I agree, but is that a responsibility you feel, or do you feel that actually life designed you for that?
I think life designed me for that. Yeah, I think it's a lot of, it's like Slumdog Millionaire, you know how they keep asking him questions and they flash back to like, oh, how does he know that? There's so many things I deal with these kids where I'm like, oh, I know how to do this because I know basic first aid. You know, my kids will hurt themselves a lot, but I know basic first aid stuff because I'm an Eagle Scout. Or I used to teach children's theater back a whole other life ago, and so like I understand how to gamify things and to get my kids to brush their teeth or what have you. I know all of these like old folklore tales that I can tell them at bedtime because I did this job here, or I did, you know, I understand play because I was on tour with this company. Like, I feel like all of these random experiences have taught me to be a good dad before being a good writer or artist or husband or friend or whatever. I feel like life kind of designed me to raise my kids more than it designed me to do anything else.
Does Keisha know that? Does Keisha know that?
I think so. I mean, have
you told her that? I mean, she probably. Oh, you have talked about that.
I get pigeonholed a lot by a lot of my friends that like I've had dad energy for a while. Like I've always like I was the 22-year-old with dad energy, and I just kind of had to age into who I am, and I just kind of had to accept that. And it wasn't until like I brought the baby home, and I was like, all right, no, I'm ready. All right, chapter 1, I'm ready. Like everything was prelude to this, and so I was watching something last night and somebody was talking about being an empty nester because their kids went off to college, and I just turned to Keisha. I was like, that's my worst nightmare. I was like, I'm dreading that.
You know, what? Did I ask you this on the and, which was like, I think I did. So like, what do you want your kids to tell you on your deathbed?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, listen, the only thing I want my kids, I don't try to project anything onto them of like what they have to do or be or whatever. It's like the only thing that they have to do and be, it's like they got to find a thing that they're passionate about in life, and then they got to do it. And I don't care if it's for money or whatever, but like they have to find something that they're passionate about. Cause to me, that's how you find fulfillment, is like you find the thing you're passionate about. And so like for me, for them, it's like, I just want to know that they found that. That's the thing I need to hear on my deathbed, is that they either found it or they're at least looking for it.
How do you teach them that? How do you teach them passion?
Demonstrate it. I think it's demonstrating it. It's so much with my kids. And listen, every kid's different. Our kids we have to demonstrate it or they won't do it. I'm gonna take 2 steps back to go forward. Keisha's got an aunt who talks about her aunt is Japanese. And I don't know if this is a Japanese thing or if this is a her thing, but there's this idea of like, when you can't go forward, you go in. And I know I'm butchering the quote. I'm completely bastardizing it, but it's this idea of like, when you meet a force, it's like, it's more important to like go inside than to try to go around or over it. It's the fastest way through. And again, I know I'm butchering the quote, but it's that idea. My kid's the same way. It's like, I can't force her to do a thing. I gotta meet her with a completely different energy to get her to do the things that she needs to do. Like, we're at a restaurant last night. She came out of the bathroom and she's like, all right, bye. And she just like takes off. And I was like, we're not going. I was like, it's literally not safe for you to like do this. And she's fighting me and this and that. If I had turned it into a game, it probably wouldn't have been a fight. But because I was like, hey, we have to go sit down, it was a no. It was the 3-year-old equivalent of fuck you, old man.
I don't know if this is true, but I got to tell you, it's easier for me to be. I agree with everything you said. Like, you can't force them, but I got to tell you, it's easier for me to force, and it could be their personalities, but I don't know. It's easier for me as my makeup to force it down my son's throat than my daughter's.
What do you think that is? Because I don't have a I just
feel like,
so
I don't know, maybe because like I'm just the way I'm shaped is like, no, my son doesn't need every shirt. No, my son can fall and break a leg. That's not great, but I don't mind. My daughter, she needs every goddamn shirt. If I go through Target and I see shirt, I'm just like, yes. You know, and like, break a leg? No way. No.
Not my daughter, yeah.
I don't know what. And my daughter is fiercer than my son, to be fair. My son is like a teddy bear, you know. He's very strong kid though. He's like doing jujitsu with 7 and 9-year-olds who are 4 years older than him. He's like tough kid, but that's not why. It's more like, I don't know. I kind of like want it to be tougher on him, but she reflects the softer side in me, and I don't think that's necessarily healthy for her, because I want her to be strong, and I also don't want her to ever feel like her brother can do something she can't ever. You know, we live in here in Uruguay, and there's few girls that play soccer, because the boys play soccer and the girls do field hockey. And I'm trying to get her on the soccer field. Yeah. I don't want her to think like, you want that? You go get that. But I got to say, when I go through Target, like when we go in Uruguay, there's not a lot of choices of things to buy. There's no Amazon. So like, you go to Target and you think you're in heaven, or Whole Foods, you're like, this is heaven. Americans don't know how good they got it. Like, you got all these options and it's not crazy pricey. And so I'll just, we come up twice a year and we buy a bunch of stuff and bring it down. And I'll buy like a few things for my son, but like, I want to buy everything for my daughter. And I just don't know what is that about. And it's not fair and it's not right, but it's like what comes up.
I don't think you're alone in that though. I think that's and it's such a cultural thing. I think globally, I think that's a huge thing. And I don't know where that comes from. Right. But it's a thing. I don't have the opposite experience to measure it against, but like, yeah, I'm like, my kids have put me in physical therapy. Like I will let my daughters do anything because I'm like, anything, like, I'm not even kidding. I've had to go to physical therapy because they beat the shit out of me. And it is that thing of like, you want to give them the world, but it's where do you draw that line of like, you want them to be soft, but also you want them to be hard. And yeah.
So how are you preparing your daughters for the future world? like considering that they're adopted, they're Black, they're white,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, I mean, it's not the same America that was like when Obama was elected, you know, like
I'm a big thing of like, I want my girls to feel like they can do anything I can do. Like, I don't want them to ever feel like they can. And that is so hard to do. Like you said, in 2020s America, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. My eldest daughter is like, she will suffer no fools. She is one of the strongest, bravest people I've ever met. And she's 3. And Keisha and I talk about it all the time. We're like, we are very protective of that. Like, we don't ever want the world to take her from that. Like, she's more, and I mean this in a very positive way, like she's more aggressive than either of us are about taking things on. And it's like, yeah, I want her to have, I want my kids to have all the rights and abilities that I have. And yeah, I don't know how we do that in current America. I don't know.
What keeps you up at night?
I mean, that certainly keeps me up at night. The idea of not always being around for them, definitely keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
I'm building a studio in the backyard to work in, so I don't have to do the podcast in my guest room. Construction keeps me up at night. I mean, I know that's like a true answer. So what comes up for me now, and thanks for asking, is like, it's not that what keeps me up at night, but when I go take a piss in the middle of the night, or I come, you know, I work and then I go to bed at midnight or something, and I see my wife, because we all sleep in the same bed, in the same room. When I see my wife and my daughter and my son sleeping next to them, like passed out sleeping, I'm like, the most important thing in this world to me is in this room. It's on this bed. Like, doesn't keep me up at night, but it's worth being up at night for.
Worth being up at night for that's, yeah.
There's some good writing right there. God
That's
damn.
some good writing. Yeah. That's
no ChatGPT.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly. But I don't need much, man. I just need their health and their sustenance. And I'm like, I don't have a need for much more than that.
It's a different kind of mountain range.
Different kind. But part of when I tell my friends that, they're like, no, dude, it's your loss of testosterone. You're turning 50. Like, you're losing testosterone. You take some testosterone and you'll be like hunting again and ambitious. I'm like, maybe, but I feel very fulfilled, and I don't want to lose that sense of, I don't want to lose what I have. And maybe that's now, I don't want to operate from fear, but that's kind of in the space where I'm at right now. It's like, how do I maintain this and protect this?
Yeah. It's one thing to get it. It's another thing to keep it.
We always end these conversations with the self deck. I'm holding up the self deck just to, like, we're going to randomly take a question. I'm going to flick through these questions and you'll tell me when to stop. And that'll be like a question for you, which you don't have to answer, but let's see what comes up.
Sure.
Have you played the self deck?
I've done this a bunch.
You're like, I'm a pro.
I was like, hit me.
Okay, here we go. I want to flip through. You tell me when to stop.
Stop. Ooh.
Can you read it out loud?
What is the one lesson or value that I want to pass on to my grandchildren? You know, at the risk of sounding redundant, it is that they have, like, find the thing that you are the most passionate about and do it. That and financial literacy.
Yeah.
I think those are the two things.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that you're most passionate about being a father and writing? Are those the two things that you're doing as an example, as a modeling for your children, or is there something else? Or
yeah, I think it's not even just writing. I think it's just being creative and, like, and living in creativity. Any kind of creative endeavor where I can just kind of fall into it and lose a whole day. And for me, that could be, it could be writing, it could be drawing, it could be anything. It could just be building something. I love doing anything creative. So yeah, for my grandkids, it's like, find whatever that thing is for you. It could be doing taxes. It could be teaching. I don't care what it is, but if it opens you up, if it makes you feel alive, then it's probably the thing to do.
I want to thank you for joining me in this conversation. I hope it had some utility. I hope it offered a reflection of what maybe life is shaping you for, and maybe it offered a missing piece to the puzzle of your life. It was a pleasure for me, and I appreciate your time and attention. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can stay abreast of all the new episodes we have coming out. And until next time, thank you so much. Guts is a Skin Deep media production. The show is produced and edited by Gonzalo Torres Ocampo, with editorial support from Anthony Cabral, and executive produced by me, Topaz Adizes. Special thanks to all the guests who showed guts, without whom there will be no getting under the skin. Interested in joining our community and following this journey? Visit guts.podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and theskindeep.com for in-depth conversation card games that create the space for connection, intimacy, and deeper conversation.